Hello, I'm Miss Mac or Miss McInnes. Thank you so much for joining me for virtual back to school night. I teach Honors English 1 and Puente 9, so all ninth grade this year. And I'm just going to give you all a little overview of what we've already gone over in class this year, and then feel free to get in touch with me with any questions you have. So again, welcome to either Honors English 1 or Puente 9. A little bit about me. This is my 4th year at Marshall, but my 12th year teaching overall. I taught mainly 8th grade for a while, and then also taught in New York for a while. And I'm very happy to be here at Marshall teaching high school. I attended UCLA for my undergrad, and I got my teaching credential and my master's in education at UC Davis. And as I said, this year I'm teaching 2 classes, Honors English 1 and Puente 9, which have a little bit of overlap, but Puente is also kind of its own thing. All right, so class expectations, pretty standard. Just please be on time. I do mark students tardy if they're not here when the bell rings. First period this year, we've definitely been a little more lenient because I know students are getting COVID tests or their temperature or whatever. So completely understanding with that, but especially after first period. Make sure students bring their materials to class. You should need a notebook, your Chromebook most days, some days depending, and something to write with. Students can always store their notebooks here in class if they don't have homework. They're welcome to do that. I also have writing utensils here for them. Usually we begin each class with a do now that I project or write up on the board. So our standard procedure is students come in, once the bell has rung, they can get out their notebooks, start their do now promptly. And then I just ask if I'm teaching that students don't pack up while I'm teaching. If we're having free time, they can pack up early, but it can just be really distracting. This year, especially no food during class, especially we're all masked. So it's very obvious if students are eating in class. I allow them to pop out and drink water really quickly so they can take their mask off. That's totally fine. And my last thing for Honors and Puente that's super important is making sure that all work that is turned in is in our own words, not copied or borrowed from online or a classmate or someone else. Always your own work in your own words. Awesome. All right, so general course expectations, and a lot of these are good reminders for students and families. I put everything on Canvas, including our daily slides. So if a student is ever absent or confused about what we did in class, right there on the homepage, it says like daily slides. You can open it up and you can see everything that I show the students in class. So that hopefully is very helpful. Also in the modules unit on Canvas, I put all the resources that students need. So there's a lot of information there, a lot of resources, but usually Canvas can answer a question if Miss Mac can't. And then final grades will still be on Aries. You'll notice there's some assignments on Canvas that just weren't worth points, like back to school assignments. So you won't see those on Aries. Only assignments worth points that affect students' final grades will be posted to Aries. But you can still see the Canvas gradebook as well to check. I accept late work, usually up to a week late, but if you have an extended illness or absence, please get in touch so we can work out what makes sense. Same deal if you're going to be out for a long time, hopefully check in with me so I can tell you what to prioritize, things like that. So late work, the Marshall English department, same for the makeup work, has decided that late work receives 10% off, which is like 1 letter grade, and can be accepted up to a week late. I've told the students I don't always take off late points. For assignments where I will take off late points if an assignment is turned in late, I definitely let them know in advance. So for example, like the word of the week assignment first quarter, that will have late points taken off. But like the exit ticket that they just turned in last week, no points off. So I will always make it very, very clear if that 10% is applied to that assignment, and it will be on Canvas. Just so parents know and families know, we usually do our daily English work in a notebook, like we write it down, but then I'll select certain work to be graded online, whether it's classwork or an assessment. So for example, the assignment last week, they had written 3 exit tickets in their notebook for practice, but then selected 1 to turn in on Canvas for points. So a lot of work is handwritten, but then also Canvas as well. And in general, I just encourage students to communicate with their teachers, to reach out, email us, pop in at nutrition or lunch. I am happy to hear from family members as well, but trying to teach students to advocate for themselves is always like the good first step. And just so you know, a lot of parents have already joined Canvas as observers, but you can do that. I believe you have to go through the student's profile to maybe people, and then you can add, and then that way you can see Canvas as well, or you can just ask them to show you, either way. All right, grading. Grading looks a little bit different this year. And again, this is all decided by the whole English department here at Marshall. We met over the summer and we tried to align ourselves. So everything you see here, the other high school English teachers and most of the middle school teachers are doing as well. So classwork will be 40% of students' grades. This includes Do Now, exit tickets, quizzes, and the year-long activities that I'll go over in a second. Assessments are 50%, so that's essays in this class, projects, presentations, things like that, tests, although I don't get a lot of tests. And then we have a new category, which usually was homework in the past, but this year it's speaking and listening as 10%. And that aligns with our state standards in California because that is a state standard. So this will be like presentations. Notice sometimes a presentation will be both an assessment and speaking and listening, depending on when it falls. So right now, students are filming their first presentation on Flipgrid by themselves, their House on Mango Street presentation. But later, we'll have in-class ones, both group and individual. So a lot of speaking and listening practice. And you should see these categories reflected on Canvas and in Aries. So this is probably one of the biggest shifts this year, and that is the grade scale for the English department. A lot of this was influenced after distance learning last year, and we just really tried to reflect on what makes sense for students as far as we're grading. So you can see here, and this is already in Aries, so the letter grade should reflect the percentage that they have. So A range is still the same, but you'll notice the B range goes all the way down to a 75. The C range goes all the way down to a 60, the D range all the way down to a 40, and then an F is 0 to 40%. So we just tried to more evenly distribute the grade ranges, which ideally for me allows me to grade in more detail and more specifically, right? Because I do have like a wider range. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out. And again, on Canvas, like for example, if a student is earning a 75% right now, it should say B- on Aries, not a C. So it should be reflected again on Aries. I know it can look a little scary if you're not used to it. All right, so here's an overview of what we'll be doing this year. This is always subject to change, but here's the plan. Right now we're reading House on Mango Street in both classes, and students will be completing a narrative vignette or several narrative vignettes for their assessment. So more creative writing, like a personal essay, and they're working on their first one this week. It's due Friday, tomorrow. Then we'll read Fahrenheit 451, and students will work on argumentative or persuasive writing. And then we'll be doing a research paper, as you see over here, third quarter. And then I believe for probably end of third quarter, beginning of fourth quarter, I'll have students do reading circles. Sometimes we read another text altogether, but I feel like mixing it up this year. So you see some of the potential choices here. Definitely Kindred will be a choice. Night, Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime is a great one. On Such a Full Sea is a slightly more like, I would say like a sophisticated dystopian novel, but really interesting. So later on, I'll be asking students which book they would be interested in reading, and they'll be able to like work with their classmates and collaborate on that. So that should be fun. And it's always fun to hear about like the other books that other students are reading. If you're in my Puente class, this might deviate a little bit because Puente has a lot of extra activities added in the Puente program. For example, we have a residency called Through the Ages coming up where we have people who work in theater come in and work with us. So if you're a Puente student, know that this might be a little more flexible this year, depending on whether the visitors can come to school or not. But this is hopefully more or less what we'll be doing this year as well. Maybe we'll change up a text for Puente, we'll see. And also we'll end the year in May with a podcast series that students do, which is usually really fun to listen to. There are year-long activities that repeat. So I just wanted to go over them, and they're in modules under year-long activities. So there's like running slideshows and directions and everything there. But weekly, we do the Greek and Latin roots. So every Monday, students get 10 new Greek and Latin roots. And then on Friday, they have a practice quiz on Canvas. It's not worth points, the practice one, but it's good for them to see how they're doing. And I tell students if they're really struggling each week on the practice test, that lets them know like before the test, they need to really study. And then every 4 weeks, there's a review test that's worth points in the assessment category. For independent reading, students are also supposed to read and annotate an additional book each quarter. So students have already started on this quarter. It's a narrative book, so it can literally be anything. And then they have different choices about how to annotate. If it's their book, they can write in it. They can use sticky notes to annotate, and I have a bunch here, or I have annotation logs where they can type or write the quotes and the explanation. And an annotation to me is like pulling out strong lines, good details, and explaining why they're important, just to track students' like interaction with the book as they're reading. And then the last one is the word of the week. So every week students get a new vocab word, and this assignment's like, it's almost like a scavenger hunt. Their job is to find the words throughout the quarter and write them down, document them on their log. It's like, I can say it in class, another teacher, they can hear it on TV. They can use the word in their responses, and that will earn them points. And they're supposed to, this quarter, they find the words 10 times and record them. And students are welcome to turn it in early. But also, if you check Canvas, I always post the current word of the week on the homepage. So you, as parents, guardians, siblings, whoever's watching, if you want to drop in some words for them at home, that's always appreciated. You don't have to go over the top. Don't give them all 10 words, but feel free. Some sample words so far, we have abstract, subtle, checking my list, meticulous, ambiguous, and this week's word, redundant. So if you ever feel like using those, I'm sure that students will be very excited because then they get their points. Cool. And that one, since it's a lot of it is independent, it's only worth about 10 points. If something's completed like mainly at home, I'll try to make it worth fewer points than in-class assignments. Lastly, our classroom community. I'm going to read this. It's very important. So students are expected to be supportive of their classmates and respectful of their learning environment. We are fortunate that Marshall is a diverse school and should take the opportunity to listen and learn from others' experiences. I encourage students to keep an open mind, ask questions when confused, and treat others as they would like to be treated. Name calling, disrespectful comments about a person's race, class, gender, religion, or sexual orientation will not be tolerated, even as intended as a joke. So we read some texts that, bring up feelings or controversial, or students may disagree, and that's fine. But I just ask that we're respectful in our conversations and our discussions. That's fine. Or to ask questions, like it says, if you're confused. And if you have any more questions about this, please feel free to reach out. I'm in room A222 here on campus, but here's my email. I infrequently check my Instagram, my teacher Instagram, but you're welcome to join it. And then my contact phone number as well. I would definitely say that I respond most quickly with emails, so feel free to email me with any questions at all. So far, I'm so pleased with the students this year. They're just so lovely, and it's so nice to be here on campus and see all their faces, and I appreciate them following all the rules for the masks and things like that. So it's been a wonderful start to the year, and I'm so excited for the rest of the year. And again, please do not hesitate to reach out with any comments, concerns, or issues. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and hopefully I look forward to meeting some of you in person one day. Bye.